Hi again, Mark here from Talkingbass. Today we're going to look at some walking bass with a lesson from the Simple Steps to Walking Bass course over at the Talkingbass website. Many walking bass tutorials deal with walking in the common time signature of 4/4, which is obviously 4 beats to the bar. But in this lesson we're going to look at how you should negotiate walking in 3/4, which is 3 notes per bar. 3/4 is often referred to as waltz time, and it can take quite a bit of practice switching your brain from the usual 4-based walking to 3, especially when you consider the fact that you'll only have 3 beats to make a smooth transition from one chord to the next when dealing with 1 chord per bar. So, without further ado, let's check out lesson 25 from module 2 of the Simple Steps to Walking Bass course. And if you want to take a deeper dive into walking bass as a whole, be sure to check out the complete course in the Talkingbass store. It covers everything from the absolute basics of a simple 2-feel and works up to advanced walking through any jazz standard while teaching you everything that you need to know in terms of chord tones, scales, chromatics, vocabulary and functional harmony. Enjoy! So far, we've only looked at walking in a time signature of 4/4. That's 4 beats to the bar, but it's possible to walk in any time signature, and in this lesson, we'll look at one of the most common meters of 3/4. This time signature is commonly associated with waltz styles. If you want to hear some great examples of jazz waltzes, just take a listen to maybe Bill Evans' Waltz for Debbie, or his take on Someday My Prince Will Come, or for something a little bit more modern, you could try Footprints by Wayne Shorter or All Blues by Miles Davis. So for this lesson, we're going to look at our good old 1-6-2-5 progression in C major, but we'll try it in 3/4. So each chord is going to last for 3 beats, okay? So let's have a listen to the track. We'll just try counting first, and then I'll just try playing the root notes along, okay? So this is the first exercise. So, 2, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, C, 2, 3, A, 2, 3, D, 2, 3, G, 2, 3, C, 2, 3, A, 2, So that was just playing the root notes along with the progression, and that works fine, you know, and that will do for a lot of tunes. But we want to expand on that. So now let's try adding another note into the bar, and we'll try putting it on beat 3. And what happens here is that we get a little bit of a 2-feel vibe, okay? It's a laid-back feel, but it's very much like the 2-feel that we had in 4/4. So to do this, all we're going to do is add the 5th note. So just like with the 2-feel before, you know, with the root 5th, we're going to play root on beat 1 and 5th on beat 3. So if we're working through the progression, we might have C, 2, 3, A, 2, 3, D, 2, 3, G, 2, 3. Okay, so just putting those 5ths in there. So you want to practice round and round with the track, just experimenting with the 5ths just as you did with the 4/4 2-feel. So here, I'll just play along with the track. 2, 2, 3. Just as with our original 2-feel, we can also add thirds in there. So for the C major, we could play the E. For the A minor, we could play the C. For the D minor, we could play the F. And for the G minor, we can play the B. So I'll play along with the track again. I'll add thirds in there for the first time round, and then I'll just mix them up with the 5ths from that point on, okay? 2, 2, 3. Next up. For a little bit of variety, we could also move that note on beat 3 to beat 2, okay? So doing that, we could just do the same thing. We can have 5ths and thirds. So we would have 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, okay? And it just gives us a little bit of a different feel. And you could aim to play your normal 2 feel as 1, 2, 3, 1 and 3, and then just add on 1 and 2 for a little bit of variation. So I'll just play around once, playing on beat 2, with the 5th, and then from that point on, I'll mix it up. A 2, 2, 3. And whether you do that or not is often going to be dictated by things going on in the song. There's going to be certain things that are going to inspire you to play like that. You might be playing counter rhythms to what's going on in the melody, whatever it is, something from the kit, something from the keys, whatever it is. In an ensemble, there's going to be certain things that are going to trigger, the way that you want to express the rhythm feel. So now let's move on to straight walking in quarter notes. So there are many, many different ways that we can do this. There's just as there is with standard walking in 4/4. So I'm just going to give you a couple of ways that you can get through, let's say, this chord progression, and a way that will really, really help when it comes to just looking at jazz standards. So the first way is looking at chord tones. So in ascent, we'll just try working up through the triad. Remember, we've only got 3 notes in the bar, so we can't work up through the whole 7th chord. So on C major 7, C, E, G, A minor 7, A, C, E, etc. Just work up through the triad. Then if we want to descend, we'll come down through the chord tones again. That's going to be root, 7th, 5th. So on C major 7, C, B, G. A minor, it's going to be A, G, E. D minor, D, C, A. Okay? So I'll just work through the progression again and very purposefully play up the triads and then down through the 7ths. And, it won't be a very smooth line because we're not looking at the voice leading yet, but it's just a way of getting used to that in 3, okay? So, 2, 2, 3. And descending. So now let's try creating a smoother line through that progression just using that vocabulary, those 2 lines. You might be surprised at how good those lines can be. So we start on the C, and let's say we want to come down to the A. So we've got the A here. Let's come down through the chord tones, as I just said. C, B, G. So that's the root, 7th, and then the 5th. And it's right there. We've come down those 3 notes, and the A is right there. So already it's worked, okay? Next, we want to come up from the A up to the D, so let's ascend. So let's come up through the triad. So A, C, E, and we've just come past the D. The E is right there. So again, it leads really well into the D, just using the triad. Again, just come up through the triad, and then we're at the G. Okay, so we're getting some quite smooth movement just from using that limited vocabulary. So far, C, A, D, G, and now let's say that we want to come down to the C. We can come down root, 7th, 5th, and then we're back to the C, nice and smooth. Okay, so let's have a listen to that with the track. 2, 2, 3. So this time I'll just play along and improvise over that backing track, and I'll just mix all that up. But I'm only going to use those 2 lines. I'm either going to use the ascending triad or the descending through the 7th chord, okay? And see where it takes me. 1, 2, B. So So just using the chord tones, we already have some good lines in there. That was a nice line, you know, very smooth. So now let's just add some scales into there. So the line that I want to show you is just an ascending scale with this particular chord progression. Now, I'm only going to use this on chords 6 to 5 leading into 1 because these are really good for movement by fourth. So A to D is a fourth, D to G is a fourth, G to C is a fourth. Because it's four notes away, because it's a fourth, it means we can just ascend through the scale and lead smoothly into it in 3/4. So on A, if we rise up through the Aeolian scale, A, B, C, D, gets us right there. Then up through the D Dorian, D, E, F, G, and then up through the Mixolydian, G, A, B, C. And of course, as I've said before, you can just think of those as the notes of C major as well. So A, D, G, and back to C. Okay, so let's have a listen to that with the track. On the C, I won't be doing this. I'll just come down through the chord tones. A 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I extended it a little bit then. So when I got up to that top C, I just came down through the chord tones, then I came up through the scale again, down through the chord tones, and then up through the scale again. So just another line there, just another line to put into the vocabulary that you know works over, you know, in 3/4 with movement by fourth. But just that one added extra leads to, you know, a much more diverse line. Finally, let's add some good old chromatics in there. And there's a really simple way of using chromatic approach notes in 3/4 that, you know, can work for any chord progression pretty much. So let's say we start on the C major 7, and we need to get to the A. We're going to use a double chromatic approach note. So we're on the A, we're leading to the A, so we can either approach from 2 notes below, just 2 frets below. So that's going to be G, G sharp, A, or we could come down from above, so that's going to be B, B flat, A. Okay, so let's say we do it down the octave. So I'm on the C, then G, G sharp, A, or G, then B, B flat, A. Okay, then once we're on the A, we can lead up to the D, so we could have C, C sharp, D, or E, E flat, D. We're just approaching from 2 frets either side. We're on the D, leading up to the G, F, F sharp, G, or A flat, G. And then we can approach up to the C, B flat, B, C, or D, D flat, C. So exactly the same chromatic approach that we looked at way back in Module 1 in the 2 feel. So I'll play through with the backing track. First time round, I'll just use approach notes from below, second time from above, and then I'll mix them up. 1, 2, 3. So now we have a few resources for getting through this chord progression. We've got the chord tones, ascending and descending, scale lines for moving across those chords by fourth, and now we've got the chromatic approach. So this time I'll play along with the track and I'll just mix them all up and see what we can come up with. 1, 2, 3. So those exercises were great for getting a bit of experience in 3/4, but they all dealt with 1 chord per bar. Let's now have a look at 1 chord for 2 bars. Okay, so C major 7 for 2 bars, A minor 7 for 2 bars, etc. So, you know, there's many different ways that we could address that, you know, and eventually you will get to be able to just walk around instinctively, you know, just where you want. But I'm just going to give you a little hack that could get you through this. So all we're going to do is ascend or descend through the 7th arpeggio, and then we're going to use a chromatic approach note to the next root note. So we've got 2 bars, so that's going to be 6 beats. So let's say we're on C major 7, we come up, C, E, G, B, and then let's start coming back down. So we get back to the 5th, and now we need a chromatic approach into the next chord, which is A, so we could use G sharp into the A. Hey presto, we've got a little formula that we can use. So C, E, G, B, G, G sharp, A, nicely led into the A. Okay, then descending, same thing again. Come down, A, G, E, C, A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 5 notes of the arpeggio, and then chromatic approach notes, we could use C sharp to D. Obviously, we can approach from below, C sharp to D, or from above, you know, from the E flat down to the D. We're on the D, let's try the same thing. D, F, A, C, and then back to the A, so up we come. And now we're going to be approaching the G, so we're above the G, so let's use the chromatic approach from above, so A flat, G, so D, F, A, C, A flat, G, and then we can come down the G7, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and then maybe D flat to the C, okay? So that whole line as we work up. Up, down. Okay? So let's hear that with the track. 1, 2, 3. And again. Playing in 3/4 is an essential skill when learning to play walking bass lines, and over time you'll develop a better feel for the time, and you'll also develop a vocabulary of different lines that you can use over a variety of different jazz standards.